The final frontier, a realm once reserved for dreams of exploration and scientific discovery. But now, it is also the new front line, a silent battleground where the stakes are higher than ever before. High above, in the cold vacuum of space, far removed from the concerns of everyday life on Earth, a new arms race is underway. Nations are vying for control, pouring resources into advanced technologies. It's a competition, quieter, less visible, but potentially far more dangerous than the Cold War ever was. The consequences of falling behind are simply too great to ignore. The main competitor is no longer solely Russia, though they remain a significant player, but a technologically ambitious China, with its sights set on becoming a dominant force in space. They are aiming to control the ultimate high ground, to dictate the terms of engagement in this new arena. For decades, the US enjoyed unchallenged military dominance in space, a position of unparalleled strength. Its satellite constellations provided a decisive edge in communication, navigation, and surveillance. This advantage shaped global power dynamics. That era is over. The landscape has shifted dramatically. US leaders now warn that China's progress is stunning, a rapid ascent that has caught many off guard. They are closing the gap at a pace few predicted, challenging the established order in ways previously unimaginable. China is building a resilient space architecture, designed to withstand potential disruptions and attacks. This infrastructure is not just to support its own forces and ambitions, but also to deny and disrupt America's access to space in a conflict, potentially crippling its ability to respond effectively. The implications are profound, reaching far beyond the realm of military strategy. This competition is threatening the very foundation of US military power, its reliance on space-based assets. And it's shifting the global balance, creating a new world order where the rules are still being written. The silent battlefield above is getting increasingly crowded, with more and more actors vying for position, and the rules are being rewritten in real time, often without clear consensus or established norms. Dual-use technology blurs the line, making it difficult to distinguish between peaceful and military applications. This ambiguity complicates matters, blurring the line between peaceful exploration and military preparation. It's fueling suspicion and instability, creating a volatile environment where miscalculations could have catastrophic consequences. China is rapidly building its own independent space systems, reducing its reliance on foreign technology. From GPS alternatives like the Beidou navigation system to a permanently crewed space station, they are investing heavily in their own capabilities. It's creating a self-sufficient ecosystem, a closed loop that strengthens their position in space. This is all part of a new era of strategic competition, a contest for dominance that will shape the future of our world. It's one that will be fought and won in orbit, with satellites and space-based technologies as the primary weapons. The race for space dominance is no longer just about planting flags on distant celestial bodies, a symbolic gesture of national pride. It's about controlling the future of global power, securing a strategic advantage that will define the 21st century and beyond. The kill chain, a term that might sound like something out of a science fiction novel. But it is the very backbone of modern warfare, the intricate process that dictates how targets are identified, tracked, and ultimately neutralized. It's a digital sequence, a carefully orchestrated series of actions that begins with finding a target, precisely locating it, and ends with its destruction. And this entire process, this complex chain of events, is all powered by satellites orbiting high above the Earth. For years, this kill chain was America's strength, a decisive advantage on the battlefield, enabling unparalleled precision and speed. But that strength has also become its vulnerability, a single point of failure that adversaries are keen to exploit. China, recognizing this dependency, has spent decades studying how to break it, meticulously analyzing every link in the chain. They've been aggressively developing counter-space weapons, technologies designed to blind, jam, and disrupt our satellite network. Their ultimate goal, to jam or even completely destroy US satellites, crippling our ability to respond in a conflict. Imagine a crisis, say, a conflict over Taiwan, where tensions are already at a boiling point. In that scenario, if China successfully disrupts these critical satellites, the consequences could be devastating. US forces, reliant on satellite communications and GPS, could be left blind and deaf, unable to coordinate or navigate effectively. Suddenly, their technological edge, the advantage they've relied on for so long, is completely erased. Top generals are now warning that this very kill chain, once a symbol of American power, could become America's Achilles heel, our greatest weakness. The nightmare scenario: U.S. forces isolated on the battlefield, unable to communicate with command, unable to see the enemy, completely lost and vulnerable. All because their eyes and ears in orbit, the satellites that provide crucial intelligence and communication, are suddenly gone, taken out by a preemptive strike. This isn't just about losing a technological edge or a strategic advantage, it's far more serious than that. It's about losing the very ability to effectively fight and win a modern war, to defend our interests and protect our allies. The digital dagger, poised to strike, is aimed directly at the heart of U.S. military operations, threatening to cripple our defenses. The stakes for space security have never been higher, and the need to protect our satellites has never been more critical. China's advances in space are visible for all to see, literally in orbit. Synchronized satellite maneuvers, once rare, are now routine for China, with satellites approaching and even docking with others. These tests for debris cleanup have clear military implications. A satellite that can move junk can also disable an adversary's asset. China's Shijian-21 satellite demonstrated the ability to capture and move objects in space, a game-changer for orbital warfare. Beyond maneuvers, China's surveillance satellites can track U.S. carrier groups in real time, feeding targeting data to long-range missiles. These feats are the result of massive investment and innovation, not just copying. China is also pioneering quantum communication and building the world's largest radio telescope. Each achievement adds to a comprehensive space architecture designed to challenge U.S. leadership. The celestial chess game is underway, and every move matters. The numbers tell a compelling story, a narrative etched in the cold vacuum of space. China's satellite fleet is growing at an astonishing rate, a testament to their ambitious space program. It's a rapid expansion that's reshaping the orbital landscape. This fleet has quadrupled in size in just a single decade, a meteoric rise that demands attention. And with this growth, China is now second only to the US in terms of operational satellites. The US still maintains a lead in both the sheer quantity of satellites and the sophistication of its technology, a legacy built over decades of space exploration. But China is rapidly closing the gap, investing heavily in research and development to catch up with and potentially surpass American capabilities. This is particularly evident in areas like high-resolution imaging and advanced surveillance technologies. China's Gaofen series of satellites, for example, now offer image resolution that rivals even the most advanced U.S. spy satellites, providing detailed views of the Earth's surface. More importantly, China is prioritizing redundancy in its space architecture, deploying a large number of smaller, more affordable satellites, creating a distributed network. This approach contrasts with the traditional model of relying on a few large, complex, and therefore vulnerable satellites, any one of which could cripple an entire system if disabled. Navigation is yet another critical front in this evolving space race. For decades, the U.S.'s Global Positioning System, or GPS, has been the undisputed global standard for navigation and timing. However, China's Beidou system is now fully operational, providing a completely independent alternative for global navigation. Beidou not only offers China secure and reliable navigation capabilities, free from reliance on foreign systems, but also incorporates unique features such as two-way messaging capabilities, a feature that GPS currently lacks, offering a distinct advantage in certain scenarios. In the realm of intelligence gathering and surveillance, the U.S. has traditionally relied on satellites in relatively predictable, well-established orbits. China, however, is actively experimenting with satellites that have dynamic, less predictable orbital patterns, making them harder to track and anticipate. Furthermore, China is developing advanced on-orbit servicing and satellite inspection capabilities, which add a new dimension to the potential threat landscape in space. The overall balance of power in space is undeniably shifting, and China is no longer simply trying to match the US in terms of space capabilities. Instead, they are actively developing asymmetric strategies designed to exploit perceived American vulnerabilities in space. This competition is not a static situation, it's a dynamic and constantly evolving rivalry. Space has become a critical domain characterized by constant innovation, rapid technological advancement, and intense competition. The race to dominate space is well and truly on, and the ultimate outcome of this high-stakes competition remains uncertain. a question mark hanging in the vast expanse of space. China's real power in space lies in how it integrates satellites with its military forces. The Beidou system gives Chinese troops precise, independent navigation, no reliance on US GPS. Space-enabled services connect the PLA's Army, Navy, and Air Force, enabling coordinated strikes and real-time targeting. Reconnaissance satellites track US carrier groups, feeding data to long-range carrier-killer missiles. Space-based communications keep pilots and ships connected, even far from home. This integration is the core of China's informatized warfare, achieving information dominance and precision. Space has become the great enabler, fundamentally altering the military balance in the Indo-Pacific. The US isn't standing still. The Pentagon and Space Force are racing to build a new, resilient space defense. Enter the Golden Dome. Not a literal shield, but a multi-layered defense architecture for space. Like Israel's Iron Dome, it aims to detect, track, and intercept threats, but in orbit. The first layer better space domain awareness using ground and space sensors to spot hostile moves. Next, active defenses. Lasers, microwaves, and bodyguard satellites to deter or defeat attacks. The biggest shift is toward resilience. Hundreds or thousands of small, cheap satellites instead of a few big ones. A distributed network is harder to destroy. Even if some satellites are lost, the system keeps working. This marks a move from passive to active defense and from vulnerability to resilience. America's response to China's challenge is taking shape in orbit. From Beijing and Moscow's perspective, the US is the main driver of space weaponization. They argue that US dominance and new capabilities force them to develop counterspace systems in self-defense. The creation of the Space Force and the Golden Dome are seen as proof of US intent to militarize space. China and Russia use international forums to criticize US actions and resist arms control efforts they see as one-sided. Each side views the other's moves as offensive, fueling a cycle of escalation and mistrust. This makes arms control and norms for space behavior nearly impossible, pushing the domain closer to open conflict. Space is the ultimate high ground. Control it, and you control global awareness and influence. Satellites enable everything from military operations to banking, navigation, and disaster response. The US policed stability of space is now at risk as rivalry with China escalates. A war in space could create a debris cascade, the Kessler syndrome, making orbits unusable for generations. Both the US and China have demonstrated anti-satellite weapons that could trigger this disaster. If the US loses its lead, allies may question their security, leading to instability and new arms races. Staying ahead in space is about more than pride. It's about global stability and the world order. The stakes could not be higher. We stand at a turning point. Space is shifting from peaceful exploration to a potential battlefield. China's rapid advances have upended decades of US supremacy, creating a precarious new dynamic. The risk in a crisis, the temptation to strike first in space, could trigger escalation and global chaos. For the US, losing space means losing military power and the ability to defend allies. Maintaining a resilient space presence is essential for national and global security. The new space race demands urgent investment, innovation, and diplomacy to prevent catastrophe. The path forward is a delicate balance between deterrence and de-escalation.